It's Tuesday, the 27th of July. My name's Juan Brown. You're watching the Blanco Lirio channel out here at Oshkosh. A little bit of rain last night. Here's what we know so far about the Challenger 600 crash at Truckee yesterday, 26 July. First up from the Aviation Safety Network, 26 July, Bombardier CL600, Challenger 605, owner-operator Tarco Aircraft Funding, LLC, November 605 Tango Romeo. They're reporting 3 fatalities, 3 occupants. However, I do not believe the Nevada County Coroner has made this official yet at this time. Truckee Airport on approach, coming from Coeur d'Alene to Truckee. NTSB and FAA are investigating. A Bombardier CL600 Challenger 605 was destroyed when it impacted heavily wooded terrain while on approach to Truckee Airport, Truckee, California. Multiple witnesses saw the aircraft in a very sharp right turn before impact. Let's look at Truckee and the approach and the ATC tapes. Here's the Truckee Airport orientation with north up, and here is the site of the crash right off of Reynolds Way and the golf course. Here is the runway that they were shooting the approach to. This was a circle to land approach procedure. The pilot was attempting to circle to land to this runway right here. It appears that the aircraft stalled into the trees next to the golf course. It did start a small fire, and that small fire was quickly contained by CAL FIRE crews. Now let's look at the flight radar, FlightAware data. Here's the radar track from FlightAware coming down from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and then makes a descending holding pattern to line up for the RNAV approach runway 20 with a circle to land runway 11. There were thunder cells building up in the area at the time, and the problem with the weather is the visibility due to the smoke from the wildfires. Truckee Airport, located right here, is now a towered airport. It's a mountain airport located at about 5,900 foot elevation here in the Sierra Mountains, just north of Lake Tahoe and just west of Reno. Here's the Donner Summit of the Sierra Mountains, located right here, about 9,000 foot elevation terrain surrounding the airport to the west. And here's the Mount Rose with a over 10,000 foot terrain surrounding the airport just to the east. Here's the Truckee Airport diagram. The approach is being shot to runway 20, the short runway, which is 4,654 feet long, and the circle to land on runway 11 is the longer 7,000 foot runway. There are 3 different RNAV approaches into Truckee, all of which have pretty high minimums due to the surrounding mountainous terrain and the missed approach single-engine climb-out requirements to get out of this mountainous terrain in the event of a missed approach. This pilot elected to use the RNAV runway 20 approach and circle to land to runway 11. The RNAV 20 approach, as we saw from the FlightAware data, comes in from the north. So he came in, did a right-hand holding pattern to get down to altitude, and he reported LUMO at 9,500 feet, and then did the approach on into minimums. Now, these minimums, in this aircraft, I assume that the minimums category for this aircraft is a category C. These different minimum categories pertain to the aircraft's speed on final approach. And as you can see, category D is not applicable. You cannot land here doing an approach in a category D aircraft because you do not have the minimum terrain clearance needed for aircraft of those speeds. And down here is the circling approach minimums. So the circling approach minimums for this approach are 7,703. You need 3 miles visibility. It's the 3 miles that is the controlling factor for the minimums required for this approach. 7,700 feet for your circling minimum altitude puts you about 700 feet above the runways. One of the problems with the weather on this approach is that this weather visibility is limited by fire smoke. The AWOS system, as I've reported before, does not do a good job of handling the visibility due to smoke. So the AWOS may lead you down the rosy path of destruction and by reporting a higher visibility than is actually available to the pilot due to this fire smoke. So there's a conversation with another pilot prior to this accident aircraft arriving onto the airport, and that pilot reported that it was basically IMC. He couldn't see much of anything once he was airborne, and down close to the ground he had about 2 to 3 miles visibility due to the smoke, regardless of what the AWOS was reporting. A circling instrument approach is a difficult maneuver at best. It's sketchy enough of a maneuver that the airlines have long since stopped doing circling approaches. We are not, in the airlines, Part 121 world, at least at my company, we are no longer authorized to do circling approaches, at least in the aircraft that I fly. It's a tricky maneuver because it's a combination of visual approach procedures and instrument approach procedures. And one of the many complications is, while doing this approach, what do you do if you go missed approach? You need to go missed approach to the runway that you shot the approach to, not to the runway that you're landing at. Well, in many cases, that missed approach procedure may very well be behind you. So you got to have a plan as to how you're going to do a missed approach out of one of these circling approaches. The other problem is just simply getting the proper spacing that you need for your left base entry and final for this circling approach, especially when the visibility is so reduced. If the visibility is very limited, you as a pilot are going to be very tempted to get very close to that runway, perhaps too close to that runway for your final base and turn for your aircraft, and thus overshoot final. As we listen to the ATC tapes from Victor at VAS Aviation, we're going to be listening for this waypoint Awiga, where the instrument approach procedure starts, and the final approach fix Lumo once he gets in contact with the tower. This comes courtesy of our friend Victor at VAS Aviation. I highly recommend supporting Victor's channel. He does a great job getting this information out very quickly, and it's a real pain to get these ATC audio tapes together with the diagrams.
5 Tango Romeo, descend and maintain 14,000. Expect the approach shortly.
14,000, 605 Tango Romeo. 605 Tango Romeo is established and hold.
So he's going to...
November 5 Tango Romeo. I'll have the approach here. See you in a minute.
Roger that.
So he's going to do a big circle back around to get lined up with the initial approach fix. For this approach, he's got to descend out of altitude.
November 5 Tango Romeo, clear direct Awiga, across Awiga, at or above 13,000, cleared RNAV runway 20, approach Truckee Airport.
Okay, direct Awiga and clear for the approach, 5 Tango Romeo.
So here's Awiga. He's descending and getting on the RNAV approach. Hold the phone right there. Let's check this weather out. METAR, Truckee, at that date and time, auto 090 at 5 knots on the wind, 4 statute miles visibility. And that's what I'm talking about. The automatic weather reporting station has a hard time getting accurate visibility readings due to forest fire smoke. So this reading right here is telling the pilot that you have the minimums required to start this approach. He has at least 3 statute miles visibility. He's good to go. Even though once you get down there, the visibility might look quite a bit worse, as reported by previous pilots. Broken at 2300, 32 degrees, very warm, 06 on the dew point, altimeter 3014, smoke. Remark, visibility 3.5 variable 5 miles, statute miles, due to smoke, broken at 2300.
November 5 Tango Romeo, I'm not sure if you're still here. Radar service terminated. Contact Truckee Tower 120.57.
2057, I say through.
I was going to
Tower November 605 Tango Romeo is with the Lumo inbound, and we are going to have to circle the runway 11 for runway length.
Challenger 605 Tango Romeo Truckee Tower, Roger, report the airport in sight. When you're breaking off the approach, you can either enter the downwind for 11 or you can enter a left downwind for 11 or go over the top left downwind for 29.
Appreciate it very much. Looking forward to seeing you guys.
Roger.
Okay, that's a little bit lost in translation. Victor's from Barcelona. English is his second language, and that was hard to hear. He said he needs to circle to the other runway due to runway length for his jet.
Station 5 Foxtrot Lima 180 back to Foxtrot, then contact ground 118.3 off the runway.
Good through at the runway, we're doing a 180.
That's a different aircraft.
Okay.
She's also basically cleared our accident aircraft to land on any runway he likes. He can circle to land on runway 11 or continue all the way around for a left downwind for runway 29er.
605 Tango Romeo is making the right-hand turn. We've got runway 11 in sight.
November 5 Tango Romeo, Roger, runway 11 cleared to land, wind calm, not in sight.
Clear to land, 605 Tango Romeo.
Okay, he's got the runway in sight. He's setting up for the left base entry runway 11, but the tower cannot see the accident aircraft. And then he soon disappears off the radar.
I got you.
Truckee Tower, this is Scott. Yes, ma'am. We see that fire. Are we good to go?
No, the
Let me get back to you.
the airport's closed. That's
Thank
it.
you. Jump on the airport's closed, USN. As soon as I get a good time, can I give you guys a call over at the Skydive?
Tomorrow we'll decide, I don't think. Most likely sooner.
And you said tentatively until what time again?
5 p.m. tomorrow.
5 p.m. tomorrow, thank you.
The airport is closed for the night and the next day. So eyewitness accounts from the local CBS News, which I'll provide the link to, a gentleman golfing out on the golf course reported an aircraft very low over the trees. And then he reported the aircraft in a steep right bank before crashing into the trees. Remember, this aircraft is in a left base final entry, overshooting final, so it appears. Remember, if you are in a left banking turn and going to stall the aircraft, chances are that right wing's going to stall first and the aircraft's going to roll over in the opposite direction of the turn because the outboard ailerons are down. This aircraft also, this aircraft also does not have leading edge slats on it. And talking to some of the local pilots out here that have flown this aircraft, and you guys that have flown this aircraft, let me know about the approach and handling and low speed characteristics of this particular Challenger jet. Circling approaches are a tricky thing. There's a lot of things we can learn from this accident. Just don't let the client push you. If the weather is too sketchy, divert, go to your alternate. If in these air show conditions, the show does not need to go on. Don't keep pushing it. Thanks so much for your support of this channel here on the Blanco Lirio channel, especially over on Patreon that make this content possible. See you here. Pete, what's that? No? Nope. B-17.